So, Sarah, you have a question from Tyson Langhofer of Phoenix, Arizona. There he is.
Thanks for talking about this important topic. I'm the director of Alliance Defending Freedom's Center for Academic Freedom.
Great organization. Thank you for the work that you do.
Absolutely. So we defend the First Amendment rights of students and faculty throughout the country, and we see exactly what you see and what you've talked about every day. In fact, I have 3 current and former clients here today. I just want to recognize Mark Cahanding at Cal State LA, stand up for a second, and Jeff Lyons at Bunker Hill Community College, a Navy veteran, and Nathan Apodaca of Cal State San Marcos. You know, it takes courage to stand up to your university. Can we just take a second and you know, thank them for standing? So we've seen this happen in many different ways. We represented 3 students at Kellogg Community College that were handing out the Constitution on a public sidewalk, and they were arrested and taken to jail because they were handing out the First Amendment. We represented them successfully, thankfully. They were Young Americans for Liberty group out there standing for liberty. We represent currently Chike Uzabunam as a student at Georgia Gwinnett College, and the Department of Justice has weighed in on that, and we appreciate that. But Chike was sharing his Christian faith with other students, and he was stopped by his college because they said they had a policy that said that you cannot disturb the peace and or comfort of other people. We represent Nathan Apodaca at Cal State San Marcos, and his Students for Life group was denied funding because the school has a policy which allows them to favor certain groups over other groups with the student activity fees that every student is required to pay. We currently represent a Young Americans for Freedom group at Kennesaw State University. They hosted Katie Pavlich to talk about, of all things, media bias on campus. And the university required them to pay a security fee because in their own determination, they determined that what Katie was going to talk about was controversial. And finally, Mark Cahanding, when Mark's Young Americans for Freedom group invited Ben Shapiro to come to campus, the students and the faculty flooded the student union, blocked both the front and back entrances so students couldn't attend that event. There were 24 security guards on campus at that time, and they didn't do a thing to stop this unlawful behavior. And so my question is, what can the President Trump and his administration, the Department of Justice, do to protect the First Amendment rights of students on campus?
Like so many things, I think this president leads by example on this issue more than anyone else ever has. To say, you know, I'm going to challenge your worldview, I'm going to say what I think, and argue back with me if you don't like it, but you don't get to silence it. And so I think the problem that we have is that on college campuses, so many college students are being silenced, something they can't do to us when we're out of college and adults. I get to say what I want to my friends, and you know, Kellyanne and I get to go on TV and speak our minds. But that's not true on a college campus. They can expel you. They can arrest you. You know, at Middlebury, one of those protests turned violent, and they actually ended up attacking the liberal sort of accidentally, and she had to go to the hospital for a neck injury. And so it's out of hand, and you see this, unfortunately, in polling. It's culturally insidious. 20% of students who were polled said that they believed that you could use violence to shut down speech that you found offensive. And it's why you're seeing speech codes on college campus, that offensive speech is not allowed. Who determines what's offensive? What does offensive mean? And if that becomes a subjective standard, I don't think that really fits with academic freedom and with actually what allows us to have the startups in Silicon Valley and the creation at the NIH of a new non-opioid painkiller. That is from challenging the status quo and from saying I have a better idea and I have a different way to do it, not from groupthink. So we are happy to wade into these cases where we can, and very happy that groups like you exist to do the work that you do every day and spend your time on. ADF, I know, has taken their slings and arrows as well. So it is about a cultural change, and that's all of you guys can do far more than I can on that.
Thank you, Sarah. Mark, did you want to say anything?
Good afternoon. Thank you guys for being here. So as Tyson mentioned before, I am the chairman of the Young Americans for Freedom chapter at California State University of Los Angeles, which is a chapter affiliate of Young America's Foundation. And being part of a great organization like YAF, it's taught me to stand up and fight for my conservative beliefs. But because of this, I've had professors and administrators constantly threaten me with violence to the So my question to everyone on the panel is, what will this administration do for conservative students like me who are trying to speak up on the college campuses?
Can I first ask you what the college campus did for you before we get the federal government answer?
Could you clarify?
Did the college campus help you out at all? Did California State help you out at all?
When I brought over Ben Shapiro, there was a lot of red tape going on. 2 days before, they tried to charge me security fees. And after that, 2 days before the event, the president of the university canceled the event. And because that was a clear violation of our constitutional rights, we worked with Alliance Defending Freedom to present a lawsuit to them. And after that lawsuit, the university is now working with us to give us conservative speakers on campus.
It does seem anyway, Sarah, that when you hear these shock the conscience anecdotes, that if they're brought to the Department of Justice, or I assume in some cases the state courts or the state prosecutors in this case, that action can be taken or at least examined. Is that the way it works? If you were to call the Department of Justice hotline, let's just say, what would happen?
Absolutely. So if it's a state school, you have First Amendment rights there. And if it's a private school, they take federal money, and there are things we can do there on the margins as well. And what they're doing with Alliance Defending Freedom is incredibly important. The problem is that, and we know this in other things that the president has done, the court system takes a long time. You're going to be probably out of college by the time this is resolved. And thank you for standing up and doing that, and the amount of time and energy it's going to take for you to see that through is so important for everyone else in this room. But again, it has to be more than the federal government coming down and working through the court system. It's more than that. It is changing that idea that I think the president does every time he speaks. I think it makes a difference to show, even if it's just you at your school alone, that you can say what you think.
And it would have the terrible chilling effect of really discouraging people in the future from bringing college campus speakers or organizing or having a club or a meeting as such. So my advice would be to not allow that to deter you, to allow that to fortify you, and to channel that into action together, because I think there is a great deal of not just safety but strength in numbers when it comes to that.